And welcome to the show, Kris. How you doing today?
Good. Thank you, Eric. How are you? Happy Friday.
It is crazy, a crazy world we live in. I don't think there's ever been. I always say every week seems to be something new. You and I both are in the media. We're both on TV talking about all the craziness that goes on. I talk about the sports world, which is crazy enough. You dabble in everything else. I don't even want to call it pop culture because you're kind of like business, politics. And you bring out something good, and that's why I wanted you on the show this week. As everybody knows out there, you're gonna see Kris regularly on To The Point. She's our media specialist. I don't even know. We got to give you a cool title. We'll figure that out off show. But cancel culture is something that's out there, and we see it in the business to consumer world. We've seen the effects that it's had on Nick Cannon recently with his dumb comments that he decided to come out with and was shocked the world would be shocked about it. And then him kind of backtracking on it because he said he didn't like that his own community came out for him apologizing. And then you have Deshaun Jackson, who of course is an athlete, so it dips in my pond there. And then you have Charlemagne on Breakfast Club doing his thing, but Charlemagne's always controversial, Ice Cube. But you brought up something interesting to me, and that's why I have you on, is in the business world, you have felt the cancel culture in B2B.
Yeah.
Because of what you tweet. And it's not like you're tweeting like some of these crazy people. Like you're not tweeting like that one guy out of Florida who was like, Beyonce's not black. She's an Italian girl named like Natalie. And I'm like, bruh, no, she's not named Natalie. So what have you felt? Kind of talk about what you've experienced personally as we get into this B2B cancel culture. And I've also seen it now that you've brought it to my attention, but what have you experienced?
It's this culture of praise, right? Even if you look in B2B, right? So LinkedIn is the most relevant social media network to this conversation in B2B. But, I feel like everyone just praises each other. And in the sales space on LinkedIn, you don't hear as many stories like this, right? Like I can't remember you have like the boilerplate, oh, I did this business, I failed, and this is what I learned. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people who are in the trenches selling every day, like me, like you, agency owners, and who are not getting deals, not because they're not good enough, not because their pricing is off, but because of their political beliefs.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, for people hearing this, if that doesn't scare you, I don't know what will, because we are in a very dangerous place in America right now. We're headed towards a slippery slope where, again, you preach diversity and inclusion, but diversity and inclusion does not apply to politics. Right. So we are now actively discriminating against people who do not share the same political beliefs as us and saying, we just won't hire you. So if you stand for Trump or if you stand for the other side, you're not getting the deal. That is the biggest threat to corporate America right now. And I've spoken to many people who all have similar experiences, and none of them are able to share them because of NDAs, confidentiality agreements, and because there's a certain amount of, again, embarrassment or shame because they didn't get the deal. And here's what I said back to that person. At the end of the day, we're all in the sales game. I get it, right? If I lost because someone's better, okay, I want to hear that, right? I want to know what the reason is that I didn't get this. But if I lost because you don't like my point of view on politics, that is inexcusable. That is not a real reason that someone should lose a deal.
No. And you're absolutely correct. You should not lose because of your political opinion. I get if you're being racist or saying something like that, but who you vote for, number one, I don't know what happened, and this is me going and I'm aging myself, but somewhere along the line, people decided I wanted to know who you're going to vote for, and it's a private, to me, that's a private thing. Like, remember when politics was that taboo topic you're not supposed to talk about at the dinner table because it causes issues? Suddenly we made social media that thing that everybody goes and shares it, and now to be punished for what you believe in or something you say on any kind, politics, it's election 2020, we're going to talk about it. There's going to be disagreements. Never in our country have we ever always agreed on a president. I don't think anybody's ever won by a landslide. Okay, Obama won the landslide going up against McCain and Palin, but that's because it was Sarah Palin, and it was like, nope, not going to vote for her. That's not going to happen. But if you look at it, we've never agreed. That's why there's a Republican Party, a Democrat Party, and independents. And now it's like you go on Twitter, and if you say something, I can agree with some. To me, I hate it because I like some things some people say, and I don't care what their politics are. But then it's like you could be attacked on the same thing. This just happened to me. True story. I was on Instagram, and somebody who I respect as a journalist wrote about masks, and he said, absolutely, this is false. But some awesome person referred us to an awesome guest on our show, Dr. Shah, and he was talking about how important it is to wear a mask. And I trust his medical training to a journalist who's heard from 4 different people. But it was amazing how I was attacked going, well, pump your brakes there. How come doctors are saying we need to wear them? And their quote is, it's not for our protection, but it's for everyone else's protection. And yes, you're not spending 8 hours in a mask. And I love that people write that, right? I'm sure you've seen that on social. Well, I'm not going to wear this mask for 8 hours. Well, no, if you're wearing your mask for 8 hours, what are you doing? You're not even supposed to be out of your house that long. You're supposed to be, if you're eating at a restaurant, you don't have to have your mask on. If you're shopping, yes, but who shops? Okay, besides my almost 16-year-old, who shops for hours at the mall? My daughter does, but the rest of us
probably do too.
Yeah, you too. But I didn't want to say that. I didn't want to put you on blast there. I was being nice. I was putting my daughter on blast instead of you. But I think you know what I mean, right? It's just like people attacking. And I go back, this was 2 days ago. My Insta's still getting attacked by somebody who of course, I was very friendly, and some people saw my point of view as like, okay, and somebody was like, why'd you bring up you were in the military? I said, to prove that I've also talked to people who practice medicine in combat zones and said, you have to wear a mask, and wearing masks is something that people have done all across the country. And I'm still getting people who now have decided to turn it ugly and, if you don't support.
Yeah, I don't participate in it. So, you know me, you know that I'm a pretty level-headed person when it comes to this stuff. And especially with people I know, you and I have had offline conversations about this where I said to you, if we disagree, let's talk about it, right? And I think that's a really good rule of thumb for people. If you know someone, talk about it. Let's not sit here and tweet at each other about it. Why can't we talk about it, right? We respect each other. But sometimes Twitter brings out the worst of humanity, right? And the worst of people, where even if you know someone, you start attacking them online, and really it's because people get the endorphin rush of social media. But if you actually just say, like, wait a second, let's talk about it, then it's not so fun if there's not an audience, and then you just stop fighting. And that's really what I try and get people to do. It's like, let's move offline from Twitter.
Yeah. Twitter's become like a war zone, which I used to like Twitter because it wasn't a war zone, and now it's like all out if you don't get it. And I think some people just, I do watch I could sit there, like, it's my TikTok. I know some people get sucked into the TikTok world. I took it off because it was a time suck, not because I disagree with TikTok. But Twitter to me is always when I go, because there's a lot of breaking news that deals with the sports world, and that's where I get my news from. But you're right. Twitter's not the end all of be all. You don't have to agree with it. And you don't, the cool thing, like I always tell people, this goes back to, if you're watching this and you grew up in the 80s or 90s, we remember when parental advisory stickers started coming out on music, or people were offended by what they heard on the radio. And I remember the adage that I was taught at the Catholic school I went to in Orlando, Florida. They said, if you don't like what you're hearing on the radio, you can change the channel. It's an amazing thing. Same thing with social. You don't have to follow the people who are on your Twitter. You can turn them off. If you don't agree with them, I don't know why everybody's like, plus the stuff I just keep swiping by, because I'm like, I can make a comment. I'm not going to make a comment. I'm not going to make a comment. Some stuff you just have to make comments on. For me, everyone knows on the show, if it's about Vanessa Guillen, you will see me making a comment about it, because that isn't a huge issue to me personally. Sexual assault, sexual harassment in the military has gone ignored, just like so many things. And you know it, you are a woman, so you understand, even in the workplace and in media, you know the harassment that goes on.
So it's interesting, because I did something on brand activism, and the person said, and he basically tried to bring up a point to me that, women are discriminated against all the time. And I said, I don't feel like I am. And he basically said I was wrong, and maybe I am, and I don't realize it. Ever since he said that, I started to look at things a little bit differently that I never looked at before, including, for example, that, I tweeted something. A man tweeted the exact same thing that I tweeted. And he said, it's amazing how people react very differently to what my wife and daughter say versus what I say. And again, it was like another example of this that I never noticed before, that women are treated a little bit differently. And so this was in terms of this B2B example that I told you about, it was a man, and I replied about that. And I said, you know what, I really hope you understand the dangerous precedent you're setting for all women out there when you believe that it is okay to just actively discriminate based on political views. This is a slippery slope, and it's dangerous. And as far as cancel culture is concerned, one of the tips that I have for people is that we are living in a world right now where brands have to constantly reinvent, but most importantly, reevaluate, especially as the economy reopens. And so my advice to viewers is cancel yourself before someone else can. And what I mean by that is really evaluate your business and look at where are you at right now and how, if someone was going to cancel you, what would they cancel you for? So update your mission statement, update your ethos, update your values and your purpose before someone else has a chance to publicly do that on Twitter.
I love that you say that. We were just talking to another guest recently, and I covered this topic because I was George Bryant, a military guy that I just love, has an amazing marketing mind, and he was saying the same thing. He's like, look, there's so many people, and actually there's a couple people, even Montel has covered this. We've talked about brands and people coming out that need to come out and make a statement on COVID-19 or come out and say something about Black Lives Matter or whatever they just want to come out and say. And I don't have an issue with either one. I love the Black Lives Matter movement. I think it's about damn time we started talking about equality in our country. It's hundreds of years past date. But I'm seeing brands just come out and make statements and I'm like, why all of a sudden are you, some brands, I think if you've never had your hat in the ring talking about current events, you don't need to do it, because I think people just do it because they want to be relevant and keeping that, because there are marketers who believe you need to put your foot in the pool for everything. And I'm like, if you've never talked about civil rights in our country ever before, if you're a cement company, I'll pick on a cement company, Acme Cement Company. Hopefully there's not an Acme Cement Company. I'm just making it up. I'm picking on Bugs Bunny right now. But I mean, you got to think about it. Like, don't dip your foot in that pool. Like, watch what you say. I totally agree with you, but like, don't just go and be like, we stand for Black Lives Matter. Okay, great. But you've never posted before about anything in that realm. You don't need to. If your brand doesn't revolve around it, if you're, especially in the media, those of us who are in it, we know where we stand on our points and we're vocal about it. And I can stand and defend my points. And you and I, we do not always agree politically, but we respect each other as friends, just like so many of my other friends that we don't see eye to eye. But it's not like I'm going to go to blows with them and be like, I'm unfriending you, I'm not ever going to talk to you again, and go on this tangent like so many people do. On both sides, we see it. I mean, but at the same time, we can all get along. But I think brands need to keep their toes out of some pools that they've never been in before. What do you think about that? Is that accurate or?
So I think, yeah, in terms of what I've said about brand activism, I think it's very important that you are consistent and that, for example, what I talked about had to do with criminal justice reform. I've been involved in that conversation for over 5 years, and I volunteered with other organizations in that space, and I'm very knowledgeable about it. So for me to come out and put together a conversation around that right now made sense because it's something I'm passionate about and have always been involved with. I think for brands to sort of come out of the woodwork and now say, oh, this is something they are doing, but they haven't said anything up until now, yeah, I think that looks a little bit strange. And so what I'd love to do actually at some point is create some sort of a platform which holds brands accountable, where we actually keep track of every brand that promised that they were going to do something or they were going to donate, or, you know, where we really follow the paper trail of that money. Where did it go? Did it go where they said it was going to go, or did it go to their pockets? Right. So what we see online is a lot of people praising these brands. You don't really know where that money is going. Is anyone publicly watching that trail or those transfers? No, they're not. So one of the things I'd like to work on is creating something where we can hold these people accountable, because we are praising these brands publicly that say they're doing things, but no one is actually following through to see, did they really do what they said they were going to do? And we're in another dangerous time where what we have is people guilting people who are not necessarily jumping to post anything, but maybe it's because they're a little bit more strategic and want to think before they post and are thinking through what they're going to do. And because when they say they're going to do something, they actually do it. And so, again, there are some people, we praise expediency and how quickly someone can post something. And that's dangerous, because what we should be praising is someone's ability and commitment to do what they say they're going to do and have those strong values, rather than do a PR move that falls flat when that agency is fired or when there's new management.
Absolutely. Wow, you hit the nail on the head. It's like we're on the same vibe. I totally agree with you, because so many people, if we could check, and I mean, and I come at this just like you advocate for, reform. I'm a big veteran advocate. I love talking about veterans, and you've probably seen my rants on this. It's like, that's cute. You could do 25 push-ups, but that doesn't solve anything for me. It's cute. You make yourself stronger, but you're not actually doing it. But we've had problems. It's well documented. Wounded Warrior, I mean, they've been punished for it, but do you feel, I know a lot of people still to this day, 2020, and this happened several years ago with Wounded Warrior stealing money and embezzling it, people still won't donate to them because they're like, they have this chance. They have this bad reputation of taking money and using veterans, just like other groups are using, the movements that are going on in our country now. And we've seen it over and over again. And in fact, I see it when I go on Facebook. I'm seeing ads targeting people in this realm. And I'm like, wow, it is that bad that there's like bottom feeders that are like, you want to be on TV, do this course, I'll get you on it, and you have to talk about these subjects. And I'm like, you can't even guarantee TV. That's pretty strong.
I saw that. The paper, yeah. Those ads are ridiculous.
Like,
yeah.
Really? You know what you're talking about?
I always speak out and speak up against do-it-yourself PR courses or media courses because I don't believe in them. I think that PR is one of the most dangerous fields to do yourself, to be honest. And I think that it can cost you a lot in litigation when you do PR wrong. That's one of my main brand ethos and why I speak to lawyers all the time, because I think that PR and legal has to work directly together. And you want a firm that understands that. So
can we talk about that for a minute? Because before you go, I think it's something that I'm very passionate, and I'm seeing it more and more. And I don't know if it's because we're both in PR, so it's on our feeds. The Facebook algorithm always is like, Eric, it's why it's there. But I know people have asked me. They've sent me, there's a couple particular individuals that are running a ton of ads right now. And people who I respect and know that they're big time YouTubers or big time Insta influencers, they'll reach out and they'll be like, man, this looks like a great deal. Do you know this guy? And I'm like, here's my 2 cents. When people say they've been on TV, Google that. If you can't find them actually on TV, that's your first problem. Because a lot of these guys are like, I see this one guy, I don't know where he is. He's like on a deck somewhere. And he's like, hey, I can get you placed in like 72 hours. And I'm like, you can?
Impossible.
Wow.
Impossible.
I'm like, okay, you can guarantee that? I'm like, you and I both know. You and I both know. It's like
impossible.
It's impossible. If we could predict that, you and I would probably save money on a lot of things. But we can't predict when it's going to be.
Here's the general rule of thumb, and I'll be honest about this. The people who are truly in the industry, people like you and I, are not people that talk about it. Nope. The people that really are in the trenches of the television industry, who are commentators, pundits, who are newsmakers, who produce these. It's just not. We're not running ads saying I would never say that. I would never promise to get someone on TV. It's not in my. I can't promise that. I don't think anyone can promise that. I would never work with someone who could promise that. In fact, I think the people that really can deliver are very under the radar and probably barely even have a website. And I know that's a terrible thing to say as a digital marketer, but you and I both know. That's just not. Digital marketing is not their forte. Someone who's really good at it is good at booking behind the scenes and not promoting themselves online.
Yeah, you're right. And it's funny that you brought that up about ads. You don't run ads about it. I don't run ads about, I see these videos and I cringe because I see all the logos, right? And I'm like, and I laugh because I see like two go together and I'm like, you can't put people on both those networks at the same time. You're full of it. I'm sorry. And we'll just call it out publicly right here. If you see someone telling you that they can put you on CNBC and Fox Business on the same time, no, you can't. I can trust you. They will not put you on the same time. They actually don't play well together. So stop believing those people because there's so many out there and they put the logos, right? ABC, CBS, Fox. And I'm like.
They just pray to the lowest common denominator, the people running these ads. And to be honest, those aren't the people that respond to those ads are not the types of clients I'd want to work with. And I'm sure you agree, right? Yeah. Because to me, it's a sort of narcissism-driven type of PR. I work on educational-driven PR, which is that I want to use a plethora of different tactics like content marketing, personal branding, PR, TV, or podcast. That's only one tactic in a slew of many others that I use.
Yeah, and I agree with you because what people need to know about what we do in media in general, if you're trying to get into media, doing it yourself is extremely hard. And yeah, you could probably break in by doing podcasts, but a lot of what we do isn't just TV. And I tell people that all the time. And when we had David Grasso from Bold TV on, we were talking about this, and we were talking about how we love radio. And I do radio weekly just like he does, and I think you do some radio too, and you do podcasts as well as TV, like all three of the names I've mentioned, including myself. But radio's still very gold, and podcasts are very gold, and we're telling people, and a lot of these people who will go do this stuff, I've talked to a few, have come to me, and they're like, Eric, and they think, number one, my pricing is this ridiculous $99 a month stuff. Sorry. Also, reality check, people. You're not paying $99 a month to get on national TV. You're not going on the Today Show for $100 a month.
Well, okay, but let's explain that. I want people to understand, because I've had several people over the past week say, I'm just paying you for the time it takes to pick up the phone and call, right? So no, I need you to fundamentally understand and hear this. If you hear one thing I say for people listening to this, you are not paying someone for the 5 minutes or 5 hours or 50 hours it takes for them to pick up the phone. You're paying them for the years of experience they have, because what can take them 5 minutes to have a relationship with someone, it could have taken them 20 years to build that relationship. You're not paying for the time it takes to pick up or make that phone call. You're paying for the relationships they have. And another thing you should know is stop trying to steal them. That is the biggest threat to the future of the PR industry, is that you are not hiring people to learn how to do your own PR and steal their media contacts and then take it all and run. That is not really why you hire a PR firm. And so we've actually changed our contracts now because I've just had it.
Yep. You're not alone in that one. Our contract makes that very clear too. And it's funny because still to this day, even this week, I heard in an email, if we work together, will I be included on the emails? Will I meet the producer? No. Well, can you CC me on it? No. Why? Well, my job and my relationship is, number one, I rarely email producers until it's the very end. All of my relationships are built on my phone, but like you just said, it's years of experience and working my butt off that I'm not going to give it away for free. And yes, it may not take me that long to get it done, but it takes time planning it. And we are fighting probably one of the most vicious national news cycles we've ever had to fight through. With COVID-19, I think I counted the days. We had 13 days when COVID kind of chilled out. But during that 13 days when COVID was dying down and we were reopening America, George Floyd was killed. And that caused a whole wildfire that went the other way. And then COVID spiked now. And now we have schools reopening. It is late July. And we throw on top of it, sports is back. Yay, sports is back. And we have election 2020, and everybody just thinks our job, we have to make it fit, and we both know bookers and producers, it's hard. And all these fly-by-nights are people who want to do PR themselves. I'm telling you, you'll save yourself the stress. Let us stress, because our job is built off of that. Let us do the stress, because all you're going to do is bang your head, and you're going to end up calling us and going, okay, I sent a pitch, and they didn't respond.
Yeah, but so I think there's this new group of people where they think they're going to hire someone on a retainer like you or I, and they're going to learn and see what they do. They're going to figure out how to do a media list, how to create a pitch. They're going to make some contacts and then take them. And if you look at any other business model, right, that's not really how it works. And if that happened, they would eventually get paid out on each of those things as a recurring investment, right? But that doesn't happen here. So PR is structured unlike any other industry or business model that exists, which is why, unfortunately, it has to be restructured in order to survive, because the way things are going right now doesn't make sense.
No, absolutely. You're so correct when it comes to that, because we have to change the industry because it's out of control. And the problem that I have, again, is the bottom feeders, the ones that are running the ads, because you hit the nail on the head. The best people in media today are not running ads. They're not boasting on social. They may post when their clients are on or they're on. I mean, I'm guilty of it, and I know you do it too. You post
but
when
that's
you're
fine.
on.
That's different. That's sharing different. When someone's on or you get coverage is very different than promising to get coverage.
I think it's social proof. It shows that you actually deliver. I mean, people go, why do you have a YouTube channel? Not to the point, YouTube channel. Why do you have your own YouTube channel that you post your media hits and your clients? Why? Because it's social proof. And I do it, and I only do it because I hate those ads. I hate these fly-by-night liars, that's what they are, who come into our industry and they pollute it with their poison. They're pitching, they're spam pitching, they're using these media lists and they're spam pitching, not spending 5 minutes to develop a relationship. They go to these conferences and they stand up, and it's not you or I speaking at these places. These are people who have no idea what they're doing. They may be getting some small-ass publication, and they're like, I could get you anywhere. And it's like, dude, I see, where do I go and look? I look at their press, what they did. It's a freaking press release. They're like, look, we're in Yahoo Finance. And I'm like, I can do that.
No, because they're paying for PR Web. They're paying for PR Web. And the fact of the matter is that you could never pay me enough money to run any of those ads, because no one can guarantee you. We are not the media. We are like one of the only industries that sells something that we basically have zero control over. Right? And it's such a, right, any other industry, they have control. If you're selling, a subscription dog food every month, they are controlling their manufacturers. We don't have that. No. What you are buying from us is our ability to understand how to tell a really good story, how to package that story, how to brand it, how to pitch it, and hopefully how to promote it. But we can't guarantee that someone else is going to like the story. No. The media controls it. We don't.
Our world is basically our network. And that's what I tell people. When you sign up, you're paying for my network. And a lot of people see that. Our good clients.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So let's talk about that. You're paying for the network. That doesn't mean you have unlimited access to the network upon termination of the agreement. Okay. You're not paying for access to it to steal the contacts that took you 20 years to build. Yep. And then they get to keep them and keep booking themselves. Come on, that's absurd.
No, that's why you do it the way that you and I do it, and you make it. I mean, and a lot of us have those contracts now. We're fighting. We've seen this. I mean, I've had it. You've had it. I mean, what's funny is a lot of these, and the good thing, and I will say this, anybody watching is like, wow, these two publicists are going off. It's true. We're having fun now. I don't get to like talk to somebody else who's just as angry as I am about a lot of the slimy stuff that goes. But at the end of the day, you and I are actually helping the consumer right now of folks who are out there looking for PR to know what's the truth. And I'm not pitching, hey, you should work with me or Kris. I would say work with Kris, because we run a TV show now, and that's kind of our big focus, and we work with athletes. So unless you're a pro athlete or a celebrity, call me. Everybody else, especially if you're a doctor, call Kris. But you're not going to see ads from either one of us. Sorry to disappoint you, but I think a lot of the problem that we have is there are, again, people aren't honest. They set the wrong expectations, and they don't understand the game we're playing. And you're right. We run and work our butts off. But what they don't know is this, is a lot of these producers and bookers trust us. And when they see another face, like, and I'll say, I know their emails. I know what emails go through. I know I can have relationships, but I never cough up phone numbers, which took years to get, that I can text whoever I want and get, because they get what, 5,000? If you think of a major network, I'd say probably 5,000, 10,000 emails a day, easy, of really bad pitches. I mean, David Grosso put it best when he said they get the proclamation, Lincoln read as the pitch. And I'm like, awful. Holy crap. I mean, I see people pitching. I mean, people send me, hey, what do you think of this pitch? And it's like, dude, you took up an entire email. And I'm like, they're like, what do you send? And I'm like,
let's show some. You know what? I think for next week, that's a great idea where we could talk about, let's show some on screen and show people what is a good pitch versus what is a bad pitch, because people really don't know. So
before you go, let's talk about one other thing while we're talking about media. And I always tell people, if they're going to start, and you're going to start on your own, and I was just talking to a local anchor. This is why I bring this up, because she asked if I would talk about it. So, of course, I take care of Victoria because she's awesome. But she said, people, if they're trying to get their foot in the door, obviously they come to us for national and big time media. But if you're just getting started and you don't have a budget, and you're like, I'm just starting, regional media, your local news, they're hungry. They will always most likely will take a news story depending on where you're living. And that's where you get good practice. I say even practice pitching. Don't be that knucklehead who's sending a pitch to Fox and Friends and going, I want to tell you why this coffee cup is amazing. No, because guess what? They have 100 of those.
Yeah, so I actually did local TV for 4.5 years before I ever did any national news. So I always say start out local. One thing that you can do right now, the packaged stories that are making it on air are people who are recording their own video, preferably horizontal, not vertical. A lot of times if you do it vertical, they're just going to throw it out. I don't know why I have to keep saying the same thing over and over again, but obviously watch TV, right? Your TV is horizontal. It's not vertical. Your TV does not look like an Instagram story. So this is not a challenging concept to understand. Please shoot your video like this, okay? Going like that and not like that. Yeah. So that's the first thing you can do if you want to get local coverage, because people really don't want to send crews out right now in the middle of a pandemic. Yeah. So if you can make it easier for them, do that. Have photos available on hand as well. And obviously right now when we're talking about photos and talking about reopening strategies, they want new images that are shot. People are wearing masks, right? So if you're sending great high-res headshots that are pre-pandemic, that's not necessarily what they want to run right now, which is a crazy thing for me to say, because normally I would never say that. I would always say it has to be the top quality, but people want to see what's really happening out there.
Yep. And I think you hit the nail on the head. That is absolutely the facts, that when you're doing this, be their eyes and ears, because they don't know. And they're trying to get out there, but they can't be everywhere. And there's so much news breaking depending on, you live in New York, obviously, the mecca of media. Even here in the Pacific Northwest, Portland is crazy right now. We still have, every night we have a protest to the point where we're now front page news again, because we actually had to have government, police here now snatching people up off the streets because these folks won't stop looting things. And there's a fine line between protest and riot. If you're going to cover the news, I will tell you this: if you're going to go out and you've got breaking news, be careful. You're not a credentialed member of the media. And if you think your stories, I just told this to a buddy of mine who's a professional photographer. He's got a press pass, And I told him to be very careful. I'm like, bro, it doesn't matter. These cops you're between two angry lines.
Yeah, I actually just interviewed an attorney, and I'll share this link with you too, which is so interesting. He was talking about all these protesters and what they're posting on TikTok, and they're all accessories to the crime, right? So when you're out there and you're doing things, he was talking about the EXIF data, he called it, and all of this stuff, and the geotags that are located within, I guess, the file, the metadata and the file of these pictures that people are posting that they think, oh, it's anonymous. He's saying, well, no, it's not really anonymous. Nothing you're doing is anonymous, and you will get caught. Yeah. So people should know that about social media.
That's the awesome thing that I don't know why we still have to tell people in 2020 about how social media works. It's kind of like when people like, TikTok needs to be taken away. I'm like, they say because TikTok spies. And I'm like, you could take, I don't have TikTok on my phone right now because it's a time suck, like I said, not because I'm worried about security, but I could go to the mall. In fact, I did, wearing a mask. Went to the mall. We're looking for a couch in our malls here in Pacific Northwest. We have this awesome, cool company that we want to work with, and they have this awesome couch that we just love. And we literally went from there and went to our favorite little delicatessen that we like to go to, wearing a mask again until we sat down. And we went to our phones, and both my wife and I laughed because what do we have? A targeted ad. I was on Insta, she was on Facebook. We both had targeted ads, and it just made me laugh because I'm like, you want to go nail one, but understand if you have a cell phone, it's been listening to you for a long, long time, long before you probably ever stopped to think.
I mean, I agree. I mean, I do believe that TikTok is a national security threat, and I talked about that as well as these dancing doctors and access to our private medical records during the pandemic, which I believe really is scary and has a lot of repercussions, especially for doctors. When you think about HIPAA regulations and then potentially giving access to all these files simply because they have this app downloaded. So we'll get into that next time.
We'll get into that next time. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. We've talked a lot about a little bit of everything, but cancel culture is important. And I unfortunately think by the time we talk again, cancel culture is still going to be going, still controversies. The bright spot is we have sports. So hopefully sports starting in the next week will make people behave a little bit. They won't be as bored. I'm hoping. I'm hoping something distracts America right now. It's like we need a distraction. It's like we sat around for 14 weeks now, and we're just like, everything makes us angry, and we already have an election we have to deal with, which is drama enough. We don't need it with everything that we do. So I just ask everybody to breathe on social. I don't know if you have any tips, like going out, like things you should do on social. Like me, I try to stay off of it for a number of hours a day, and I think this. Yeah. The stress level is so high right now, to be honest, that I have to disengage. And my goal is not to rack up subscribers or views or listens or likes or followers. My goal is to protect my mental health, to be honest with you. And any other time I may say that that's my goal. But right now, the more I disconnect from some of these platforms, I need it in order to survive, especially because I also do this for a living for other people. I have to be on it managing their accounts during the day. So I'm not even looking at mine until after midnight. Yeah, I like it. That explains why you text us on the West Coast. And I was like, why is she? Well, what the heck? It's like 8 o'clock at night. I'm like, it's 11. I'm like, Kris must be reviewing her social, because I'm like, I tagged her.
That's the first time I look at it.
I know, it's funny because
I don't look at it until then.
That's how I know, because you tag Kris, no matter what, she won't, which I like. I don't mind it if you're taking a break from it. I do the same thing. I mean, there's coming up a few days in my life where I might not be on social, and I'll be fine. I actually need the break. I turned my phone off. I did that, and somebody got mad at me. They're like, you didn't respond. I'm like, number one, I don't work on weekends if I can help it, and two, I was taking.
You do work on weekends. By the way, you do work on weekends.
I don't want to, but I say I don't. That's why I say it out loud so people know. Like, if Eric said it, that means he doesn't, but I do. I'm working constantly, unfortunately.
I really admire your hustle and your drive with this show, and I want to let you know it's been a source of inspiration for me. I have some people working for me this summer, and I send them over your way to watch what you're doing, and I tell them this is an example of really great work.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Wow, that's kind words. I love it. That's why we have you here all the time now, because you say kind things. So you have to say it again next week too. Just fill the ego up. My wife will be like, "Damn it, another person telling him he's doing good." No, just kidding. Love my wife. But I want to thank you for joining us this week. It's been a fun topic. Again, if people want to get a hold of you, tell the folks who are watching just so they get used to how to get a hold of Kris.
Sure, you can get, my name is Kris Ruby. You can get a hold of me at rubymediagroup.com, krisruby.com. I'm on Twitter at sparklingruby, and I'm on Instagram at Kris Ruby. Out of all the social media platforms, I'm probably most likely to see whatever you send me on LinkedIn first, and I believe I'm on there at Kristen Ruby.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And folks,